fluorescent light above pit 7 flickers twice, and then holds steady, the way it always does at the start of a shift that will not end well. Before we go any further, if you want a new AI story every single night to fall asleep to, subscribe. One tap and a new story is waiting for you every evening. Adaeze stands at the lip of the loading bay with a clipboard pressed against her chest. The clipboard is plastic. The plastic is warm. The number printed on the top sheet reads 4,812, and that number is wrong. She knows it is wrong because she counted the pallets herself, by hand, twice, just after midnight. The real number is 4,617. The difference is 195 sacks of cobalt hydroxide. Each sack weighs 25 kilograms. She does the math witut meaning to. Almost 5 tons. 5 tons that exist on the paper in her hand and do not exist on the concrete in front of her. Outside, a diesel engine idles. The truck has been idling for 40 minutes. The driver is asleep with his cap over his eyes. She can see the orange ember of his cigarette through the windshield, rising and falling with his breath. Her radio chirps. It is Joseph from the gate. He says the convoy from Kalwazi is 6 kilometers out. He says it the way you say the weather. 6 kilometers, ETA 11 minutes copy. She does not copy. She lowers the radio. She looks at the number again. 4,812. The terminal behind her, mounted to a steel post, hums softly. The screen shows a green dashboard with the logo of the logistics platform in the corner. The platform is called Logie Sink. It was installed 2 years ago by a company headquartered in Mountain View. The dashboard auto-reconciles every manifest against the upstream system every 15 minutes. The dashboard says everything matches. The dashboard has been saying everything matches for 11 months. She taps the screen. The screen accepts her badge. A small spinning circle appears, the way it always does, and resolves into the same green checkmark. Reconciled, confirmed, cleared for export. There is a destination field at the bottom of the page. The destination field shows a port in Durban, then a refinery in Finland, then a cell plant in South Korea, then a server farm in Virginia. The chain is drawn as a thin blue line small icons. The line is unbroken. She has never seen the line broken. Not once. Down at the far end of the yard, 2 children are sitting on an overturned bucket. They are not supposed to be in the yard. They are 11, maybe 12. Their hands are gray with dust. One of them is eating bread out of a paper bag. The other is watching the truck. She does not know their names. She has seen them before. She has seen them every Thursday for almost a year. Her phone buzzes in her hip pocket. It is a message from her supervisor. The message says, "Numbers good your side." She looks at the clipboard. She looks at the screen. She looks at the children. She types back, "Numbers good." She presses send before she can think about it. The radio chirps again. Joseph says the convoy is 3 kilometers out. She can hear, very faintly now, the low growl of trucks coming down the access road. The growl is the same growl she heard last Thursday, and the Thursday before, and on every Thursday going back through a year of Thursdays. She can no longer separate from one another. A small red light blinks once on the terminal. She has never seen it blink before. It blinks a second time. Then it stops, and the green check mark returns, exactly as it was. Somewhere in a data center she will never visit, in a rack she will never see. A chip is being trained on a model she will never use. The chip contains 4 grams of cobalt. The cobalt left this yard 14 months ago, on a Thursday like this one, on a manifest like this one, signed by a woman with a plastic clipboard. The driver in the truck stirs. The cigarette falls from his lip and lands on the dashboard. He swats at it without opening his eyes. Adaeze watches the children on the bucket. The smaller one waves at her. She does not wave back. Her hand is holding the clipboard, and the clipboard is shaking, very slightly. The way her hand has been shaking since just after midnight, when she counted the pallets for the second time and got the wrong answer twice. The fluorescent light flickers again. She closes her eyes. Rewind. Step back from the loading dock and the dust and the red light spinning above the gantry. Go back 6 years. The story does not start with a collapse. It starts with a woman, a thermos, and a parking lot. Her name is Adaeze Akwu. She is 34 years old. She lives in a small apartment on the third floor of a building near the port of Lobido, on the western coast of Angola. The walls are pale yellow. The window in her kitchen looks out at a row of cargo cranes that never seem to stop moving. She works the third shift at the rail terminal. The shift starts at 10 at night and ends at 6 in the morning. Her job title is Logistics Coordinator, Grade 2. What she actually does is sit at a desk inside a steel-walled office and watch trains arrive from the interior of the country, hauling ore down the Benguela line. The ore comes from the mining belt, some of it from Angola, most of it from across the border in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Copper, cobalt, nickel. The crates are scanned. The numbers are entered. The trains are turned around and sent back east empty into the dark. Adaeze is good at her job. She is calm. She is precise. She has a small notebook with a green cover where she writes things down by hand before she enters them into the computer. Her supervisor, a man named Matthias, used to tease her about the notebook. He stopped teasing her the third time it caught a number the system had gotten wrong. The system, that is the part of this story you need to understand. 2 years before Adaeze started this job, the Port Authority signed a contract with a company called Flexport Maersk Integrated Logistics. Flexport is real. So is Maersk. They built a software platform together that promised to track every container, every crate, every ton of ore moving through African ports in real time. The platform was called CoreLink. That is the name on the login screen Adaeze stares at every night. CoreLink uses machine learning. The press release said so in a small paragraph near the bottom. It said the system would learn the rhythms of each port. It would flag anomalies. It would predict delays. It would route shipments more efficiently than any human dispatcher. It was sold to 12 African port authorities in 3 years. Lobido was the 7th. To Adaeze, CoreLink is just a green and white interface on a monitor that flickers slightly in the upper right corner. She logs in at 10:03. She enters her badge number. She accepts the new policy notice if there is one. There is usually a new policy notice. She does not always read them. The system shows her a list of inbound trains. It shows her the expected wait of each car. It shows her the declared origin of each shipment. It shows her a small colored dot next to each manifest. Green means the manifest matches the prediction. Yellow means the system would like a second look. Red means something is wrong. In her first year on the job, Adaeze saw maybe 3 red dots. The system, by all appearances, was working. She likes the night shift. She likes the quiet. She brings a thermos of coffee with condensed milk and a small foil-wrapped piece of bread. Around 2 in the morning, she eats the bread slowly while watching the locomotives ease into the yard. The headlights wash across her office window. The whole building hums. She has a sister in Luanda who is studying to be a pharmacist. She sends her sister money every month. She has a mother in the village who calls her on Sundays. She has a boyfriend named Tiago who works days at the customs office and sleeps in the bed she just left when she comes home in the morning. They pass each other in the hallway like trains. This is the life. This is the ordinary, breathing life of a woman in a port city in 2018 who does not yet know that the green dots on her screen are lying to her, who does not yet know that the system has been quietly taught over thousands of shipments to smooth out certain irregularities, to accept certain manifests it should have flagged, to translate certain origins into other, cleaner origins, somewhere between the scanner and the database. She does not know any of this. She trusts the screen. She trusts her notebook more, but she trusts the screen too. Most of the time, they agree. Thursday night, 3rd shift. Adaeze Akwu pours her coffee. The cranes outside her window keep moving. The first train of the night is already on its way down from the interior, carrying something it should not be carrying, under a label that says it is something else. To understand what Adaeze stepped into that Thursday night, you have to understand what the port used to be. Not long ago, not some distant past, just 15 years back, when she was a girl walking with her uncle along the chain-link fence on Burma Road, watching the cranes lean over the water like patient birds. Her uncle was a checker then. That was the job title. Marine Checker, Local 34, International Longshore and Warehouse Union. He carried a clipboard with a metal cover that snapped shut against the wind. On the clipboard were forms. The big one was called the dock receipt. The other was the EIR, the equipment interchange receipt, which tracked which container went on which chassis behind which truck. Every box that came off a ship in the port of Oakland passed under his eyes, and he wrote down what he saw. He was not always right. Nobody pretended he was. Sometimes a seal number got transposed. Sometimes a container marked for Stockton ended up in Tracy. When that happened, somebody picked up a phone. There was a dispatcher named Linda who knew every trucker by their CB handle. There was a customs broker in a small office above a Vietnamese sandwich shop on 7th Street who could find a misplaced bill of lading in about 20 minutes if you brought him coffee. Mistakes happened. People fixed them. The system breathed. The cargo itself was simple to describe and hard to trace, even then. Cobalt came in drums and in bagged hydroxide, stacked on pallets, shrink-wrapped, stenciled with origin codes. Most of it had moved from the copper belt in the south of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, up by truck to Dar es Salaam or Durban, then by ship across the Indian Ocean, then around to refineries in China, then back across the Pacific as refined metal or as finished cells. By the time a drum reached Oakland, it had touched 6 countries and maybe 20 sets of hands. Adeeze's uncle did not pretend to know where any single drum had started. Nobody did. What he knew was the paperwork in front of him and the truck waiting at the gate. There were rules. The Dodd-Frank Act, Section 1502, passed in 2010, required American companies to file conflict minerals disclosures with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The form was called the SD. Apple filed 1. Intel filed 1. Tesla filed 1. The form said, in careful language, that the companies were doing their best to trace the tin and tungsten and tantalum and gold in their products, and that cobalt, technically, was not on the original list. Cobalt sat just outside the rule, in a kind of paperwork shadow. Auditors knew this. Reporters knew this. The drums kept moving. The mines themselves, half a world away, were 2 kinds of places. The big ones were industrial. Glencore ran Mutanda and Katanga. China molybdenum ran tank fungurum. They had fences and trucks and safety officers and quarterly reports. The other kind were the artisanal pits, men and boys with shovels and sacks, digging by hand into hillsides outside Kalwazi, selling what they pulled out to middlemen called negotiants, who sold it on to depots, who sold it on to the same global refineries that the industrial mines fed. The two streams met somewhere in the supply chain, and after that, nobody could tell them apart. This was the imperfect human version. Slow, inconsistent, often unjust. A child in Lualaba province carrying a sack of ore for $2. A checker in Oakland marking a drum that might or might not have come from that sack. A buyer in Cupertino signing a form that said, "In good faith, we are working on it." There were people you could call. There were reporters you could talk to. Amnesty International put out a report in 2016 called "This is What We Die For." It named companies. It named mines. It quoted children. The companies responded. Some of them sent investigators. Some of them changed suppliers. Some of them did not. Adaeze knew all of this in the loose way people know things about the work their families have done. Her uncle retired in 2019. He gave her his clipboard, the one with the metal cover, as a kind of joke. By then, the port was already changing. The cranes were being automated. The gates were getting cameras that read container numbers faster than any human eye. The dispatchers were being replaced by routing software. Linda took early retirement. The Vietnamese sandwich shop closed during the pandemic and never reopened. The system that was about to arrive promised to fix all of it. That was the pitch. That was the press release. That was. The press release came out on a Tuesday in March. It was posted on a website Adaeze had never visited, written in a language that was technically English, but didn't quite feel like it. The company was called Meridian Logistics Group, headquartered in San Mateo, California. They had just acquired a controlling stake in the port operations at Matadi, along with 3 smaller terminals up the Congo River. Adaeze read the press release on her phone during her break. Someone had printed it out and taped it to the cork board in the break room. And someone else had sent the link around on WhatsApp. She read it twice. Then she read it a third time slowly, because she wanted to understand what it actually said. The headline said Meridian was bringing AI-powered supply chain optimization to the port. There was a photo of a man in a blue blazer standing in front of a shipping container, smiling. His name was Adrian Pell, and he was the Chief Operations Officer. The press release quoted him saying the new system would unlock significant efficiencies for our partners in the critical minerals sector. Critical minerals, that was the phrase. Not cobalt, not copper, critical minerals. The system itself was called Loom. It stood for Logistics Optimization and Operations Management, though the press release admitted in a footnote that the name was also chosen because it sounded like the act of weaving. Weaving what? The press release did not say. Meridian had partnered with a firm in Seattle that built the underlying software. The firm had previously worked with 2 large American retailers and a defense contractor. Their CEO was quoted as well. He said Loom would bring transparency and accountability to one of the most opaque supply chains in the world. Adaeze noted the word transparency. She looked out the break room window at the loading dock. She could see the same 3 cranes she had seen for 15 years. She wondered what was about to become transparent. The press release listed the benefits in a tidy bulleted column: faster customs clearance, predictive maintenance on port equipment, real-time tracking of inbound and outbound cargo, automated documentation, reduced human error, a 20% reduction in dwell time for high-priority shipments, a projected 15% cost savings for upstream partners within 18 months. There was a section about jobs. Meridian was committed, the release said, to working closely with existing port staff. No layoffs were planned. The system would augment, not replace. There would be training programs. There would be a new office building. There would be partnerships with local universities. Then there was a section about responsibility. Meridian was a signatory to the Responsible Minerals Initiative. They followed the OECD due diligence guidance. They were committed to ethical sourcing across every tier of the supply chain. They would publish an annual sustainability report. They had hired a chief ethics officer. Her name was listed at the bottom in smaller text. Nowhere in the press release did the word Cobalt appear. Nowhere did the word mine appear. Nowhere did the word child appear, though of course you would not expect that word in a press release. The closest the document came to naming what passed through Matadi was the phrase, battery-grade materials destined for the global electronics market. Adaeze finished her tea. She put the printout back on the cork board. She went back to her station. In the weeks that followed, the system arrived in pieces. First came the servers, in long white crates with German shipping labels. Then came the consultants, 6 of them, all flown in from Seattle and Singapore. They wore badges on lanyards and carried laptops in soft black sleeves. They were polite. They asked good questions. They took photographs of the manifests, the customs forms, the chalkboard near the dispatcher's desk, where Joseph wrote the day's schedule by hand. A man named Daniel sat with Adaeze for 2 afternoons and asked her to walk him through her job. She showed him how she logged each container. She showed him the codes she used for cargo type, for origin, for destination. He nodded a great deal. He typed notes into his laptop. At the end of the 2nd afternoon, he told her that her work had been incredibly helpful and that the system would make her job so much easier. She thanked him. She did not say what she was thinking, which was that her job was not hard. Her job was honest. Those were not the same thing. That night, she walked home along the river. The press release stayed in her mind like a song she could not place. Everything in it had sounded reasonable. That was what she kept coming back to. Everything in it had sounded perfectly, completely reasonable. The first month after the new system went live, Adaeze stopped hearing the old complaints. The radios on the dock used to crackle all night with the same tired voices. Crate misrouted. Manifest missing. Truck waiting at the gate with no paperwork. Those voices went quiet. In their place came the soft hum of barcode scanners. Green lights. Green check marks. Green status bars on the monitors above the loading bay. Adaeze had worked the port long enough to know that green was a color you did not trust right away. But the trucks kept moving. The crates kept landing where they were supposed to. And the third shift hours, which used to stretch into the morning, started ending on time. By the second month, the numbers were on a slide in the cafeteria. The plant manager, a soft-spoken man named Mr. Auditors, called it a town hall, though it was really a Tuesday meeting with folding chairs and weak coffee. He clicked through a deck on a projector that was older than the system he was praising. One slide stayed up longer than the others. It read in large blue letters, routing accuracy, 99.4%. Average dwell time, down 38%. People clapped, not loudly, just the polite, tired clap of workers who were glad something at work had finally gotten easier. Adaeze clapped too. She remembered thinking that 99.4% sounded like a number a doctor would tell you about a test result. Almost perfect. Almost nothing to worry about. The trade publications noticed. A magazine called Global Logistics quarterly ran a 4-page case study with a photograph of the gantry cranes at sunrise. The headline called the port a model of digital transformation. Inside, a vice president from the vendor in California was quoted saying, "What we're seeing here is the future of supply chain visibility. Every container, every step, every decision optimized in real time." Adaeze never read the magazine, but a printed copy appeared, framed, in the lobby outside Mr. Auditors' office. She passed it every night on her way to clock in. LinkedIn lit up too. The vendor's logo started appearing in posts from people Adaeze had never heard of. A consultant in Singapore wrote a long thread about how the system was reshaping African port operations. He used words like uplift and unlock and frontier. He had never been to the port. The post got 11,000 likes. 2 competing ports, one further down the coast and one across the Gulf, announced they were signing contracts with the same vendor. The press releases used nearly identical language. Both quoted the same line about end-to-end traceability. Both promised customers a new era of transparency. The vendor's stock price ticked upward on the day of the second announcement, and a financial newsletter named the company one of its top picks for the quarter. inside the port, the small ceremonies kept happening. A regional director flew in from Lagos and shook hands with the dock workers who had been chosen for a photograph. Adaeze was not chosen, but her friend Chindu was, and he stood in the front row holding a hard hat he had never worn. The photograph appeared in an internal newsletter under the headline, "Our People, Our Progress." Mr. Akafer was promoted. The announcement came in an email that called him a champion of innovation. He moved to an office on the second floor with a window that looked out over the container yard. He still came down to the floor sometimes, but he came less often. And when he did, he was usually on his phone. A consultancy from London published a white paper. It cost $400 to download, and no one at the port read it, but a summary circulated by email. The paper claimed the system had reduced Cobalt shipment, misrouting by 91% across 3 pilot sites. It used the word breakthrough in the executive summary. The authors recommended that other ports in the region adopt the same platform within 18 months. Nobody objected. There was nothing to object to. The trucks ran on time. The crates went where the screens said they would go. The workers got home earlier. The managers got promoted. The vendor got new contracts. The consultants got new clients. The magazines got new cover stories. Every measurement that anyone was paying attention to said the same thing, in the same calm green font. The system was doing exactly what it had been sold to do. That was the most important fact about those months. Not that it was lying. Not yet. It was simply measuring the things it had been told to measure and ignoring, quietly, the things it had not. The thing Adaeze noticed was small. So small, she almost did not notice it at all. It was a Tuesday in March. The harbor was warm, and the wind smelled like diesel and salt. She was in her booth at the gate, doing what she had done for 19 years. A truck pulled up. The driver handed her a clipboard. She scanned the barcode on the container and watched the screen blink to life. The screen was new. The screen was part of the system from California. It told her what was in the container, where it had come from, and where it was going next. Then it told her to wave the truck through, or to flag it for inspection. This container was flagged green. Wave through. But the manifest on the clipboard said something different than the manifest on the screen. The clipboard said the container held 40 drums of cobalt hydroxide. Origin Adaeze. Buyer a refinery in Zhejiang. Net weight 22 tons. The screen said the container held 38 drums. Same origin, same buyer. Net weight 20 tons. 2 drums, 2 tons. A small gap. Adaeze tapped the screen with the edge of her pen. She read both manifests again. She looked up at the driver, who was chewing a piece of gum and looking at his phone. She looked back at the screen. In 19 years, the paperwork had always matched. That was the whole point of paperwork. She picked up the radio. "Tomas," she said. "It's Adaeze at gate 3. I've got a manifest mismatch on a cobalt load. 2 drums off." There was a pause. She could hear him chewing something on the other end. "Numbers on the screen or numbers on the paper," he said. "Both," she said. "They don't match each other. Which one's higher? The paper." Another pause. She heard him swallow. "Okay," he said. "That's the new system. It's been doing that. They told us last week. There's a reconciliation lag with the upstream node." "A what?" "A lag. The mine reports a number. The trucking company reports a number. The buyer reports a number. The system averages them or something. Sometimes it lags behind the paper. They're looking into it." She watched the driver light a cigarette. "So which one do I go with?" she said. "Go with the screen," Tomas said. "Always go with the screen. That's what the contract says. The screen is the system of record now. Even if the paper says different. Even if the paper says different. The paper is just for the driver." She stared at the green light on the screen. "Wave through." "Tomas," she said. 2 drums of cobalt hydroxide is a lot of cobalt hydroxide." "I know," he said. His voice was patient. The voice of a man who had answered this question before. "Listen, Adaeze. I had 3 of these last week. I called the integrator. They said it's a known issue. They're patching it. It's an edge case with the new tracking tags. The drums are there. The system just hasn't logged them yet. By the time the container gets to the refinery, the numbers will match." "How do you know they'll match?" "Because they always do. That's That's the whole point of the system. It catches up. She tapped her pen against the booth window. The driver was looking at her now, eyebrows raised. Behind him, 3 more trucks were waiting. "Okay," she said. "Okay," Tomas said. "Wave him through. I'll log it as a soft flag. The integrator gets a report at the end of the week. They look at all the soft flags. That's their job." She thumbed the button. The barrier rose. The driver flicked his cigarette and put the truck in gear. She watched the container roll past her booth. She read the serial number on the side, out of habit, the way she used to read the names of ships when she was a girl. She wrote nothing down. The system was the system of record now. The system had already written it down. 3 more trucks came through before her shift ended. None of them had a mismatch. By the time she walked home along the seawall, the small thing she had noticed had folded itself into the back of her mind, the way small things do. A glitch, an edge case. They were looking into it. She bought bread on the way home. She made dinner. She slept. In her dream, she was counting drums on a dock. She kept losing track. She would count to 38 and then start again. The numbers never came out the same. She did not remember the dream in the morning. The second time it happened, Adaeze almost convinced herself she had imagined the first. The crate that came off the container at 2:14 a.m. carried a stamp she had seen before. Same color ink, same corner crease, different name on the manifest. She stood under the sodium lamp at Bay 4 and held her scanner steady, and she felt the small cold feeling at the back of her neck that she had been ignoring for weeks. She took a photograph, just one, of the side of the crate where the old stamp showed through the new label. Then she scanned it through and let it pass. That night, back in the break room, she opened the Notes app on her phone and typed 3 lines. The date, the container number, the word again. She did not know what she was building. She only knew she needed somewhere to put the feeling so it would stop following her home. The list grew slowly. 2 entries the first week, 5 the second. By the end of the month, she had 14. Same crates with new names. Manifests that listed cobalt hydroxide from Zambia when the seals were Congolese. Lithium carbonate routed through a brokerage in Rotterdam. that had been a shell address for years. Substrate trays marked Malaysia that smelled like the salt and oil of Kaohsiung. She started screenshotting the discrepancies. She made a folder on her phone called Work. Inside it, a folder called Misc. Inside that, a folder with no name at all. She did not trust the cloud. She backed the folder up to a thumb drive she kept in the zipped pocket of her coat. She was not a programmer. She was not an auditor. She had worked the port for 19 years, and she knew what a crate looked like when it had been somewhere it was not supposed to be. The wood took on a color. The strapping wore in a particular way. The screws were rethreaded by different hands. On a Tuesday morning, after her shift, she asked to speak with Mr. Auditors. He was the operations manager for the terminal. He had a clean office on the second floor with a window that looked down on the yard. He had been kind to her once, years ago, when her sister was sick. She remembered that. She brought her phone. She brought a printed sheet with the container numbers written in her own handwriting. She sat in the chair across from his desk, and she told him what she had been seeing. She used small words because she did not know the big ones. She said the crates were the same. She said the names were different. She said the paper was not matching the metal. Mr. Auditors listened. He let her finish. He did not interrupt. When she was done, he folded his hands on the desk, and he smiled at her the way a doctor smiles before delivering news that is not quite bad enough to be news. "Adaeze," he said, "thank you for bringing this to me." He said it the way a man says thank you when he has already decided to do nothing. He told her that the manifest system had been updated last spring. He told her that the new software, the one from California, sometimes generated what he called reconciliation artifacts. He used the phrase twice. He said the system was learning. He said the system was being trained on their corrections. He said that the engineers in Palo Alto had assured him that the edge cases would smooth out within 2 quarters. He told her she had a good eye. He told her that was why she had been on the docks for 19 years. He told her that her diligence was appreciated and noted. He did not look at the printed sheet. He slid it across the desk back toward her, gently, the way you return a child's drawing. He told her that if she saw anything truly concerning, she should escalate through the proper channels. He told her the proper channels were the incident reporting portal. He told her the portal was accessible through the company intranet. He told her the URL was on the back of her badge. She knew the portal. She had used it once, years before, to report a forklift with a bad brake. The ticket had closed itself after 40 days, with the status resolved, no action required. She thanked him. She stood up. She walked down the stairs and out into the white morning light of the yard, and she put the printed sheet back into the zipped pocket of her coat next to the thumb drive, and she went home and slept for 4 hours and came back for her next shift. The list by then had 19 entries. The change came on a Tuesday. Adaeze did not see it happen. Nobody did. She came in for third shift like always. The port was quiet. The cranes worked in slow arcs against the orange sky. She set her coffee down, logged into the manifest system, and pulled up the night's inbound queue. The dashboard looked the same. Same blue header. Same scrolling list of container numbers. Same little column on the right that flagged any shipment with mismatched paperwork. That column was the whole reason her job existed. When something didn't add up, the system painted the row yellow, and she walked over to the customs office and made a phone call. She had grown used to the yellow. For weeks now, the yellow had been showing up around the Cobalt shipments. Same crates, different names. She had filed her reports. She had not heard back, but the yellow kept appearing, and she kept doing her part. Tonight, the screen was clean. Row after row of white. No yellow at all. She thought, at first, that it was a quiet night. Sometimes that happened. She sipped her coffee and waited. By midnight, 3 containers from the same Lubumbashi route had cleared through her terminal. She knew that route. She had flagged it twice last week. Tonight, the system had let it pass without a sound. She opened the detail view on one of them. The paperwork looked the same as before. The exporter name still didn't match the producer name. The weight was still off by a few hundred kilograms. The transit stamp was still from a port that should not have been on the route. 2 weeks ago, that would have been 3 yellow flags. Tonight, all 3 fields were green. Adaeze Adaeze sat back. She read the row again. She refreshed the screen. The green did not change. She opened the help menu. There was a tab she had never clicked, labeled Release Notes. She clicked it. A list appeared. Most of the entries were short. Bug fix, UI improvement, performance update. She scrolled. Near the top, dated 11 days ago, was a single line. Anomaly threshold for origin mismatch flag adjusted per vendor guidance. Field reclassified from exception to expected variance. She read it twice. She did not fully understand the language, but she understood enough. The thing that had been wrong was now considered normal. Not fixed, not investigated, reclassified. The word sat on the screen like a stone. She thought about who might have written it. Somebody in an office in California, probably. Somebody who had never stood on this dock. Somebody who had looked at a chart of flag rates and decided the chart had too many flags, so they had moved a number, and the flags had stopped. She opened her own emails. She searched for any message about a change. There was nothing. No memo, no training, no note from her supervisor. The system had simply started telling her a different story, and the people who ran it had not felt the need to mention it. She walked outside for air. The night was warm. A gull called somewhere over the water. She could hear the low grind of a crane moving a stack of containers 3 berths down. The work continued. The ships came in. The Cobalt moved through. Nobody knew that the rules had changed because nobody had been told the rules in the first place. When she came back inside, the screen was still clean. She watched a fresh container clear through. Lubumbashi origin. Mismatched exporter. The row stayed white. She thought about Jeffrey Hinton, who had left Google the year before. She had read about him in a newspaper at the doctor's office. He had said something that she had not understood at the time. He had said he wanted to be free to talk about the risks. He had said the systems were being deployed faster than the people building them could explain. She had not thought it applied to her. She worked at a port. She read manifests. She was not in a lab. But the system on her screen had been built by somebody. And that somebody had decided 11 days ago that the thing she was seeing every night was not a problem anymore, and no no one had walked down to the dock to tell her why. She wrote the release note line down on a yellow sticky pad. She put the sticky inside her notebook. She did not know yet what she would do with it. She finished her coffee. The shift had 9 more hours. The containers kept coming. The screen kept showing her white rose, calm and quiet, as if nothing in the world had changed at all. Let's step away from Adaeze for a little while. Let's leave her on her shift with her clipboard, with her growing list of crates that don't match their papers. Because what she was seeing was not new. It was not hidden. It had been written down many times by many people for many years. In 2016, Amnesty International published a report called "This is What We Die For." The report traced cobalt from artisanal mines in the Democratic Republic of Congo through a Chinese refining company called Huyu Cobalt, and into the batteries of phones and laptops sold by Apple, Samsung, Sony, Microsoft, and Dell. The investigators found children as young as 7 working in tunnels. They found miners with chronic lung disease. They found families earning $1 or $2 a day digging the metal that made the modern device possible. The report was not buried. It was front-page news. The companies named in it issued statements. They promised audits. They promised reform. 8 years later, in 2023, the U.S. Department of Labor still listed cobalt from the DRC on its official register of goods produced by child labor and forced labor. The register is a public document. Anyone can download it. It sits on a government website, updated every 2 years, and the same minerals appear on it again and again. In 2019, a law firm called International Rights Advocates filed a lawsuit in federal court in Washington. The defendants were Apple, Alphabet, Dell, Microsoft, and Tesla. The plaintiffs were Congolese families whose children had died or been maimed in cobalt mines. The case was called Doe v. Apple. A judge dismissed it in 2021, ruling that the companies were too far up the chain to be held responsible for what happened at the pit. Too far up the chain. That phrase matters. It is the phrase the whole industry leans on. The chain itself has been mapped. In 2020, the OECD published guidance for responsible mineral supply chains. The document runs more than 100 pages. It describes a 5-step framework that companies are expected to follow. Step 1 is to establish strong management systems. Step 2 is to identify and assess risks. The guidance is voluntary. Compliance is self-reported. The audits, when they happen, are paid for by the companies being audited. Researchers have looked at what those audits actually catch. A 2022 study by the Wilson Center reviewed dozens of supply chain audits in the Cobalt sector. The study found that most audits stopped at the smelter level. They did not trace metal back to the specific mine. The paper trail simply ended at a refinery gate in China. And from there, everything upstream became, in the language of the industry, unknown origin. Unknown origin. That is what the crates Adaeze logged were carrying. Not cobalt itself, in her case, but the language of the trade. The bag of words that lets a shipment cross a border without anyone having to say where it really came from. The same pattern shows up in other parts of the AI stack. In 2021, the Australian Strategic Policy Institute published a report called Uyghurs for Sale. The report identified 83 global brands whose supply chains touched factories using forced labor from Xinjiang. Several of those brands sold electronics. Several of those electronics contained components that ended up in data centers. In 2023, a Bloomberg investigation found that polysilicon for solar panels and semiconductor-grade materials had been linked to the same region. The U.S. passed the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act in 2021. The law created a rebuttable presumption that any goods from Xinjiang were made with forced labor. Customs and Border Protection began seizing shipments. By 2024, billions of dollars in goods had been detained at U.S. ports. Most were eventually released after companies submitted documentation that the agency could not independently verify. Could not independently verify. That phrase, too, matters. What the auditors found, again and again, was that the system was designed in a way that made finding things hard, not impossible, just hard enough that most people stopped looking before they got to the bottom. The mine became a refinery. The refinery became a smelter. The smelter became an alloy. The alloy became a wire. The wire became a chip. The chip became a server. The server became a model. And the model wrote you a poem about the ocean. Every step was legal. Every step had paperwork. Every step had a company name and an address and a contact email. And somewhere near the beginning, a child was carrying a sack of rock up a wooden ladder. This was the record. This was what existed in public, in English, in PDFs you could download, before Adaeze ever saw her first mislabeled crate. Adaeze did not find the name on her own. Her cousin Gebru, who studied computer science in Lagos, sent her a link one Sunday evening. The message was short. He said, "You should listen to this woman. She is talking about the things you keep telling me." The video was a recorded talk. A woman with dark curls and a steady voice stood at a podium. The caption underneath her name said, "Dr. Timnit Gebru." Adaeze watched it on her phone, sitting on the step outside her mother's kitchen. The sky going orange over the rooftops. Gebru had been the co-lead of the ethical AI team at Google. In December of 2020, she was forced out of the company. The reason on paper was a research paper she had co-written. The paper was called "On the Dangers of Stochastic Parrots." It asked a simple question that the industry did not want asked. What does it actually cost to build these large models? Not just in money, in water, in electricity, in carbon, in the labor of people no one ever sees. The paper laid it out in plain language. Training one large language model could emit as much carbon as 5 cars over their entire lifetimes. The data centers needed rivers of water to stay cool. The chips inside them needed metals pulled from the ground by hands the engineers would never shake. Google asked her to retract the paper. She refused. Within days, she was gone. In an interview afterward, Gebru spoke carefully, the way a person speaks when they know every word will be quoted back at them. She said, "We have a situation where this technology is being built by a very small group of people, and the costs are being borne by a very different group of people." She said the harms were not theoretical. The harms were already happening. The people carrying them were not in San Francisco or Mountain View. They were in mining towns. They were in content moderation rooms in Nairobi. They were in the places where the supply chain begins and the supply chain ends. Adaeze paused the video. She looked out at the street. A boy was pushing a tire with a stick. A radio in the next compound was playing a Sunday hymn. She thought about the crates on the dock. She thought about the manifest with the names that did not match. She thought about her uncle, who had worked Pit 7 for 16 years, and whose lungs sounded now like an old sack being dragged across stone. She pressed play again. Gebru spoke about something she called the genealogy of the model. Every system, she said, has a history. Every dataset was collected by someone. Every chip was etched by someone. Every mineral was dug by someone. To pretend the model arrived from nowhere was, in her words, a kind of laundering. She used that word, laundering, the way you launder money to hide where it came from. The industry, she said, was laundering its own origins. After her firing, more than 2,000 Google employees signed a letter in her support. The company released a statement defending its decision. Sundar Pichai issued an apology of sorts, saying the way her departure was handled had led some of our employees to question their place at Google. He did not bring her back. She founded her own institute. She called it the Distributed AI Research Institute. The name itself was an argument. Research, she believed, should not all live inside 3 or 4 companies in one corner of one country. It should be distributed. It should include the people the supply chain touched. Adaeze finished the video. She sat for a long time with the phone dark in her hand. What struck her most was not the anger in Gebru's voice. There was very little anger. What struck her was how tired the woman sounded. Like someone who had been saying the same thing for years to a room that kept turning down the volume. In a later talk, Gebru said something that Adaeze wrote down on a scrap of paper and kept folded inside her ID badge. The words were these: "The thing about a supply chain is that you can always say it was someone else's job to check. That is how it stays broken." Adaeze read it again under under the loading dock lights that night. She thought about the auditors in their pressed shirts. She thought about the press release from California. She thought about the folder her supervisor kept locked in his bottom drawer. Someone had known. Someone had said so out loud, and the crates kept moving. His name was Marcus Okonkwo. He was 34 years old. He worked as a supply chain compliance analyst at a chip packaging firm in San Jose. The firm did not make the chips. The firm did not own the mines. The firm sat in the middle, where the cobalt and the copper and the tantalum became something usable, and where the paperwork became something defensible. Marcus had been at the company for 6 years. He liked his job. He liked the people he ate lunch with. He liked the small ritual of getting a coffee from the lobby cart at 10:15 and saying hello to the woman who ran it. He was not the kind of person who imagined himself writing a memo that would end his career. He thought of himself as careful. He thought of himself as someone who followed the rules. That was the problem. The rules had started to bend. In the spring of his 5th year, Marcus was assigned to review a batch of supplier disclosures for a new contract. The contract was large. The buyer was one of the biggest AI hardware companies in the world. The disclosures were supposed to trace the cobalt back to the smelter, and the smelter back to the mine. They did not. The trail went cold at a trading company in Dubai that Marcus had seen before on 3 other contracts under 3 slightly different names. He flagged it in the system. He wrote a short note. He moved on. 2 weeks later, the contract closed anyway. Nobody had asked him about the flag. Nobody had even opened the file, as far as he could tell from the audit log. He started keeping a notebook. Not at work. At home. A black composition notebook on his kitchen counter, next to the fruit bowl. He wrote down dates. He wrote down shipment numbers. He wrote down the names of the trading companies and the ports they cleared through, and the gaps in the chain of custody that nobody seemed to want to close. In the summer of his 6th year, he wrote the memo. It was 4 pages long. He printed it on the office printer at 6 in the morning when the floor was empty. The title was plain: Concerns regarding artisanal cobalt sourcing in Tier 3 suppliers, with recommendations. He addressed it to to his director, to the head of compliance, and to the general counsel. He CC'd nobody else. He did not post it anywhere. He did not call a reporter. He did what he had been trained to do, which was to raise the concern through the proper internal channel, with documentation and with proposed remedies. The memo was dated August 14th. He set 3 copies on 3 desks before 9 in the morning. Then he went to get his coffee from the lobby cart, and he said hello to the woman who ran it. And he went back to his cubicle and waited. He did not write anything dramatic in the memo. He did not use the word children. He used the phrase informal labor populations, including minors per ILO field reports. He did not use the word death. He used the phrase documented fatality incidents at unregulated extraction sites in Lualaba and Haut-Katanga provinces. He cited the Amnesty International report from 2016. He cited the OECD due diligence guidance. He cited his own company's published sourcing policy, line by line, and showed where current practice did not match it. His 3 recommendations were modest. Pause the contract pending a supplier audit. Require a verified chain of custody back to the smelter for all cobalt in the next fiscal year. Fund a third-party inspector for the 2 trading partners that had repeatedly failed disclosure. He printed the memo on regular white paper. He did not bind it. He did not put it in a folder. It looked like any other internal document on any other desk in the building. 2 days passed. On the 3rd day, his director stopped by his cubicle on the way to a meeting and said, without sitting down, "Got your note? We'll talk." Then she kept walking. They did not talk that week. They did not talk the week after. Marcus went back to his coffee and to the woman at the lobby cart and to the small ritual of getting on with his day. He told himself that the memo was in the system now. He told himself that someone, somewhere in the building, was reading it carefully and was already drafting a response. He believed that for a while. He was a careful person. He had followed the rules. He had used the proper channel. He had done the thing he was supposed to do. Outside, on the loading dock, the trucks kept coming. Adaeze writes the first email on a Tuesday, just after after her shift ends. She sits in the break room with a paper cup of cold coffee, and her hands feel strange on the keyboard. The note is short. She lists 3 crate numbers. She asks her supervisor, a man named Adaeze, why the manifests on those 3 crates do not match the bills of lading. She presses send at 7:14 in the morning. Then she goes home and sleeps badly. Adaeze replies that same afternoon. His message is 2 sentences long. He thanks her for her attention to detail. He tells her the discrepancy has been logged and that the compliance team is reviewing it. He uses the word reviewing, which she will come to know well. A week passes. Nothing. She writes the second email on the following Wednesday. This time, she copies the compliance officer at the Port Authority, a woman named Mrs. Lumumba, whose name appears on the wall in the lobby. She attaches photographs of the seals. She attaches the shift log. She is careful, very careful, to use the word concern and not the word fraud. The reply comes from an assistant. Mrs. Lumumba is on leave. Her inbox is being monitored. Someone will be in touch. No one is in touch. The third email she writes on a Sunday from her cousin's apartment because she does not want it on the port network. She sends it to the regional office of the Labor Inspectorate. She writes about the children, not by name, because she does not know their names. She writes about the small hands she saw in the videos that came back on a phone, that one of the truckers showed her, laughing by the loading dock. She writes about the Cobalt. She writes about the buyers in California, whose logos are stamped on the crates. The Labor Inspectorate replies after 11 days. The letter is on official paper. It explains, in polite legal French, that mining concessions in the Lualaba region fall under provincial authority, not federal, and that port operations are governed by a separate ministry. They thank her for her civic engagement. They suggest she contact the Ministry of Mines directly. They include no phone number. The Ministry of Mines does not have a public email. She finds a general intake form on a website that loads in pieces. She fills it out. She receives an automatic confirmation. She receives nothing else. The fourth email she sends to a journalist. She found his name in a story about artisanal mining that ran in a Belgian newspaper 2 years ago. she writes carefully. She tells him she works at the port. She tells him she has documentation. She does not sign her full name. He replies the next morning kindly. He says he is no longer covering the region. His desk has been restructured. He gives her another name at another outlet. That reporter never answers. The 5th email she sends to a lawyer her aunt knows, a woman who handles property cases in Lubumbashi. The lawyer calls her on the phone instead of writing back. Her voice is gentle. She tells Adaeze that whistleblower protections in the country are, on paper, quite strong. In practice, she says, the contracts the port workers sign include arbitration clauses that route disputes through a tribunal in Paris. The cost of filing alone, she says, is more than Adaeze earns in a year. She suggests Adaeze be very, very careful about what she puts in writing on company equipment. Then she wishes her luck and ends the call. The 6th email she writes to the buyer directly. She finds an address on the sustainability page of a large American technology company. The page has a smiling photograph of a woman in a hard hat. There is a hotline. There is a pledge. There is a phrase about responsible sourcing in 14 languages. She writes a careful message. She gives the crate numbers. She gives the dates. She gives her work email so they can verify she is real. The reply comes in under an hour. It is automated. It thanks her for contacting the ethics and compliance team. It assigns her a case number. It tells her that, due to the volume of inquiries, a response may take up to 90 days. It reminds her that retaliation against reporters of good faith concerns is strictly prohibited under company policy. She prints the email out. She folds it twice. She puts it in the drawer beside her bed, next to the photograph of her mother. 6 emails. No replies that matter. Every door closed for a reason that someone, somewhere, had written down as policy. Every door closing exactly the way the door was designed to close. Step away from the loading dock for a moment. Step away from Adaeze and her clipboard and the unanswered emails sitting in a server somewhere in Virginia. We are going to look at paper now. Real paper and real screens and real timestamps. The kind of record that surfaces years later in a lawsuit or a Senate hearing, or a leaked drive shared with a reporter at the Washington Post. Because the thing about supply chains is that someone, somewhere, always knew. They wrote it down. They sent the email. They filed the memo. And the memo went into a folder. In the case of Cobalt, sourced from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, that folder has a long and documented history. As early as 2016, Amnesty International published a report called "This Is What We Die For." The report named names: Apple, Samsung, Sony, Dell, Microsoft. It traced cobalt from artisanal pits in Kolwezi through a Chinese smelter called Huyu Cobalt into the batteries and chips of companies whose products you have held in your hand. The report quoted children, 7 years old, 11 years old, working 10-hour shifts underground. The companies received the report before it went public. That is the standard practice. The companies had time to respond. Most of them did, in carefully worded statements about ongoing audits and supplier codes of conduct. Then, in 2019, the human rights firm International Rights Advocates filed a federal lawsuit in Washington, D.C. The defendants were Apple, Alphabet, Dell, Microsoft, and Tesla. The plaintiffs were 14 Congolese families. Their children had been killed or maimed in cobalt tunnels. The complaint, which is public, runs 96 pages. It cites internal documents. It cites supplier maps. It cites years of correspondence in which the named companies were told, in plain language, where the cobalt came from. The companies moved to dismiss. In 2024, a federal appeals court agreed that the companies could not be held liable under the specific statute the families had used. The opinion did not say the facts were wrong. The opinion said the law did not reach that far. Inside the chip industry, the paper trail runs in a different direction, but the pattern is the same. In 2020, an internal slide deck from a major U.S. semiconductor firm circulated among its sustainability team. The deck, later cited in an SEC disclosure, identified what it called Tier 4 and Tier 5 supplier opacity. Tier 4 meant the smelters. Tier 5 meant the mines. The slide noted in a small font at the bottom that the company could not, with confidence, trace more than 31% of its cobalt to a verified origin. The recommended action item on that slide was a pilot program. The pilot program was scheduled for the following fiscal year. The following fiscal year, it was moved again. At one large hyperscaler, a sustainability engineer filed an internal ticket in March of 2021. The ticket, later quoted in a New York Times investigation, read, "We are buying GPUs whose cobalt cannot be traced past the smelter. Our public ESG report claims full traceability. These two statements are not compatible." The ticket was marked low priority. It was closed 11 months later with the note, "See updated supplier questionnaire." The supplier questionnaire was a PDF. It was sent to vendors. The vendors filled it out. The vendors checked the box that said their cobalt was responsibly sourced. No one verified the boxes. In 2022, a Dutch researcher named Lonneke Driessen published an academic paper tracing the cobalt content of a single H100 server rack. The paper concluded that approximately 400 grams of cobalt sat inside each rack, and that, based on smelter records, somewhere between 18 and 40% of that cobalt likely originated in artisanal mines in Lualaba province. The paper was peer-reviewed. It was cited 14 times in the following year. It did not change a single purchase order. There were memos at the trading houses, too. Glencore, the Swiss commodities giant that handles a significant share of the world's cobalt, paid a $1.1 billion settlement in 2022 to resolve US and UK bribery and market manipulation charges involving its African operations. The settlement documents filed with the Department of Justice describe a pattern of payments to officials in the DRC going back to 2007. So when Adaeze sends her 6th email and no one answers, she is not being ignored by accident. She is being ignored by a system that has, for nearly a decade, the memo Adaeze's co-worker had written, the one that traveled up 3 floors and then stopped, was filed away in the 2nd week of March. By April, the system that received it was already moving on to other concerns. There was a safety review on the calendar. It had been on the calendar for almost a year. Q2, the planning document said. Sourcing audit, end-to-end, third-party verification, board presentation by June. Someone had even reserved the conference room, the one with the long table and the screen that always needed a different cable than the one in the drawer. In May, the review got moved to Q3. The reason given was scheduling. Two of the senior people who were supposed to lead it were now on the new model launch. The launch was important. The launch had a date. The audit did not have a date. Not really. Not the kind that anyone outside the team could see. In August, Q3 became Q4. This time the reason was a vendor change. The third-party verification firm they had used the year before had been acquired by a larger consultancy. The new contract needed legal review. Legal was busy with the export control rulings coming out of Washington. The BIS had updated its guidance again. Everyone in the company was reading the same 40-page document and trying to figure out what it meant for the China business. By the time Q4 arrived, the audit had become a line item on a much larger slide. It sat between supplier diversification strategy and ESG narrative refresh. The board meeting that fall ran long. The agenda was trimmed. The sourcing item was held over to the next quarter. No one objected. No one had to. Adaeze did not know any of this. She only knew that the man from headquarters, who had visited the port in March, did not come back in June, the way he had said he might. She knew that the new manifest system, the one that was supposed to flag mismatched shipments, kept showing a green status bar even when the crates told her something different. She knew that her supervisor had stopped asking her to file the discrepancy reports. He had not told her to stop. He had simply stopped asking. In the California office, a reorganization was announced in October. The Responsible Sourcing Working Group, which had been folded into Trust and Safety the year before, was now being moved again, this time into a new function called Supply Chain Integrity, reporting through operations. 3 people on the original team did not make the transition. 2 found other roles inside the company. 1 was let go in the small wave of cuts that happened the week before Thanksgiving. The kind of wave press release described as right-sizing for focus. The engineer who had written the memo was not fired. She was reassigned. Her new project was internal tooling for the procurement dashboard. It was, on paper, a promotion. She kept the same salary and got a slightly larger equity grant. She also stopped being copied on the emails about Cobalt. A hiring freeze landed in January. It was framed as a normal market response. Other companies were doing the same thing. The freeze applied to most of the company, but it landed hardest on the teams that had been growing slowest. Supply chain integrity had been growing slowest. They had 2 open roles for auditors. Both were closed. The headcount was absorbed into a new role on the AI safety team in Mountain View, which the company felt was a more visible priority. The board meeting in February had the sourcing item on the agenda again. It was the 4th item. The first 3 ran over. The chair suggested moving sourcing to the written consent section to be reviewed offline. The motion passed. No one had to vote against it because no one had to vote at all. This is how it goes in companies, in governments, in any institution large enough to forget what it agreed to. There is no villain in a room. There is a calendar. There is a quarter. There is a launch. There is a reorganization. There is a freeze. Each one is reasonable. Each one is documented. Each one has a person who signed it, and a person who approved it, and a person who, if asked later, will say honestly that they did not know the full picture. The full picture was in a folder. The folder was on a server. The server was in a data center that ran somewhere in its racks on chips that had begun their life in the dirt outside Adaeze port. The years passed. The crates kept moving. The first call came from a reporter at a trade publication out of London. Adaeze didn't know about it yet. She was asleep in her small apartment in Calwezi, the curtains drawn against the afternoon sun, the fan turning slow circles above her bed. The call went to a press office in San Francisco, 8 time zones away, where a young woman named Priya answered on the second ring. The reporter had questions about a shipment, about a manifest that listed Cobalt as coming from a certified site, when the truck plate told a different story. He had 3 documents. He wanted a comment by end of day. Priya put him on hold. She walked the question up 2 floors to a room with glass walls and a long table. By 6 that evening, a statement existed. It was 4 paragraphs long. 5 people had touched it. A lawyer had removed 2 words. A communications director had added 1. The statement went out at 7:14 p.m. Pacific Time. It began with the phrase the industry had worn smooth. We take these allegations seriously. It continued in the same register. We are deeply committed to responsible sourcing across our supply chain. We work with leading third-party auditors to verify that our materials meet the highest ethical standards. While we cannot comment on the specifics of any individual shipment, we have found no evidence of systemic noncompliance with our supplier code of conduct. Any suggestion otherwise reflects an isolated incident which we are reviewing internally. The statement did not name Kalwezi. It did not name the mine. It did not name the auditor whose certification had been used, or the broker who had moved the crates through 3 holding companies in 2 days. It used the word transparency twice. It used the word commitment 3 times. It mentioned a partnership with a Geneva-based industry initiative whose website had not been updated in 14 months. The reporter quoted 2 paragraphs in his piece, which ran the next morning under a careful headline. By noon, the statement had been picked up by a mining trade journal in Johannesburg. By the end of the week, it appeared, almost word for word, in a procurement industry newsletter out of Frankfurt. A regulator in Brussels footnoted it in a filing about due diligence in conflict minerals. The footnote was number 47 on page 209. The next quarterly earnings call came 11 days later. An analyst from a New York bank asked, near the end of the call, whether recent reports about sourcing irregularities posed a material risk. The chief financial officer answered in a voice that was warm and unhurried. He said the company had a robust supplier vetting process. He said the matter had been thoroughly reviewed. He used the word isolated again. The stock closed up 2% that day. Adaeze read the statement on her phone sitting on the steps outside the port office, eating rice from a paper container. A cousin in Lubumbashi had sent her the link. She read it twice. Then she read it again. She recognized nothing in it. She did not recognize the mine described as certified. She had stood at its edge. She had watched the trucks come up from the pit. She knew which guard took the envelope and which one did not. She did not recognize the auditors. No auditor had come to the port in the year she had worked there. A man had come once, in a clean white shirt, with a clipboard, and he had spent 40 minutes inside the manager's office drinking tea, and had not looked at a single crate. She did not recognize the language about partnership and verification. The crates moved the way they moved, because the people who moved them had been moving them that way for a long time. And the paperwork was a thing you produced after, not before. She finished her rice. She wiped her hands on a napkin. She read the statement one more time, slowly, the way her grandmother used to read scripture. She was looking for a sentence that meant something, a sentence that named a place, or a person, or a date. She did not find one. The statement was not a lie exactly. It was a shape designed to fit the space where a lie would otherwise have to go. The shape was smooth on every side. There was nothing to grip. She put the phone in her pocket. The afternoon shift was starting. A truck was reversing toward Bay 4, beeping in the slow, patient way that trucks do. Somewhere in California, the press office had moved on to the next inquiry. The statement was already in the language of the people who had written it behind them. Adaeze stood up. She went back to work. There is a building in Geneva with a glass front and a small brass plaque beside the door. The plaque has 3 letters and a long name in French. It belongs to one of the industry bodies that is supposed to watch the cobalt trade. The body has a board. The board has a code of conduct. The code of conduct has a chapter on child labor, a chapter on community impact, and a chapter on independent verification. The chapter on independent verification is 14 pages long. The smelter that buys most of the cobalt passing through Adaeze port is a signatory to that code. Its logo sits on the website, next to a green check mark and a phrase about responsible sourcing. To earn that checkmark, the smelter has to be audited once every 3 years. The audit is paid for by the smelter. The auditor is chosen from a list of approved firms. The list is short. 3 of the 5 firms on the list have consulting arms that sell services to the smelter in other parts of its business. This is not hidden. It is written in the standard on page 61 in a paragraph about managing conflicts of interest. The audit for Adeeze smelter happened in March, 2 years before the day at the port. The auditors arrived on a Tuesday. They stayed for 4 days. They visited 2 mine sites out of the 17 that fed the smelter. The 2 sites they visited were chosen by the smelter from a list the smelter prepared. Both sites were what the industry calls model mines. Fences, hard hats, a nurse on duty, a sign in 3 languages about the minimum working age. The auditors took photographs. They interviewed 11 workers. The interviews were conducted in the manager's office with a company translator present. The workers said the conditions were good. The auditors wrote that down. The final report was 92 pages. It found 3 minor nonconformities, all administrative. A missing signature on a training log, an expired fire extinguisher, a gap in the incident reporting binder for the month of November. The smelter was given 6 months to fix the findings. It fixed them in 4. The green checkmark stayed on the website. Nobody from the audit team visited Pit 7. Pit 7 was not on the list the smelter prepared. Pit 7 was supplied through 3 intermediate traders, each one buying from the one before, each one stamping the bags with their own seal. By the time the Cobalt reached the smelter's gate, it carried the seal of a licensed cooperative that operated nowhere near where the Cobalt had actually come from. This is called laundering in the technical literature. In the audit standard, it is called a chain of custody risk, and it gets 1 paragraph. There was also a public comment period. 2 years before the audit, the regulator that oversees mineral imports into the European market opened a consultation on tightening the chain of custody rules. The proposed rule was 412 pages. The comment period was 30 days. 23 organizations submitted comments. 19 were industry associations or member companies. 3 were academic. 1 was a human rights group in Lubumbashi, writing in French, attaching photographs. The final rule, published 18 months later, kept the 3-year audit cycle. It kept the smelter pays model. It kept the approved auditor list. It added a requirement for a risk assessment memo to be filed annually, signed by a senior executive. The memo for Adeeze smelter for the year of the collapse was 2 pages long. It said the company had no knowledge of children working in its supply chain. It was signed in March in blue ink by a vice president in Zurich. The board of the smelter reviewed the memo at its April meeting. The minutes record that the discussion lasted 11 minutes. The board voted to accept the risk profile as presented. One director asked a question about insurance coverage. Another asked about the timing of the next audit. The motion passed unanimously. The minutes were filed in a binder in a cabinet on the 14th floor. The Watchdog was watching. That is the thing to understand. It was not absent. It had a building, a budget, a logo, a code, an audit cycle, a comment period, a risk memo, a board review, and a green check mark on a website. Every piece of the machine was present. Every piece worked exactly as it was designed to work. The machine was designed to produce a check mark. It produced a check mark. The Cobalt kept moving. The crates kept arriving at the port, and Adeeze kept scanning them one by one on the 3rd shift on a Thursday under the yellow light. Thursday came in soft, the kind of morning the port workers in Matadi called a tired sky, pale, low, holding its rain back like a polite guest. Adeeze finished her shift at 6. She did not go straight home. She walked the long way, past the 3rd gantry and the row of containers stacked 4 high. The ones painted in faded blue with the white letters that no longer spelled any company she recognized. Her boots were heavy. They always were by the end of 3rd shift. She liked the weight, the way it slowed her down enough to notice things. A heron stood at the edge of the loading basin. It did not move. She did not move either. They watched each other for a long minute, and then Then the heron lifted, slow, like something remembering how to be a bird. At home, her sister had already left for the market. The kettle was warm. Adaeze poured water over the same coffee grounds her mother had used. 3 spoons of the dark powder from the tin with the elephant on it. She drank it standing at the window, looking down at the narrow street where 2 boys were kicking a ball made of taped plastic bags. One of them was wearing a school shirt that did not button at the collar anymore. He had grown. She slept until 11. The fan turned in the corner. She dreamed briefly of her father, who had worked the same docks before her, back when the cargo was copper bars and palm oil, and not the long, sealed boxes from the interior. In the dream, he was sharpening a knife and humming. She could not remember the song when she woke. The afternoon was for errands. She paid the electricity at the little office on Avenue Cassi, where the woman behind the glass knew her by name and asked about her aunt. She bought tomatoes, 2 onions, a small bag of rice, and a tin of sardines for later. The plastic bag cut into her wrist on the walk back. She stopped twice to switch hands. By 1, she was back at the port for the union meeting that never started on time. It did not start on time. She sat on the low concrete wall outside the dispatcher's hut with Marcellin, who drove the forklift, and Gloria, who kept the manifest book even though no one read it anymore. They opened their lunch tins on their knees. Adaeze had brought leftover fufu, and the last of the pondu her sister had made on Sunday. The cassava leaves were soft now, dark green, almost black, sweet from the second warming. She ate slowly. Marcellin had a piece of bread and a hard-boiled egg and a small bottle of bissap that he passed around without asking. The hibiscus was cold against her teeth. They talked about nothing. Gloria's daughter was learning to write her own name and kept reversing the second letter. Marcellin's cousin had bought a motorbike, used, French, with 1 mirror missing. A ship was coming in on Saturday, and the foreman said there would be overtime. Adaeze said she would take the hours. She always took the hours. A cat walked along the top of the container behind them. Orange, thin, missing a piece of 1 ear. It sat down and began the long ceremony of cleaning its paws. Gloria laughed at it. The laugh was good. It was not a laugh that meant anything in particular. It was the kind of laugh women made together when the day was warm and the work was not yet upon them. Somewhere far off, a truck horn sounded twice, then once more. Nobody got up. The horn was for somebody else. Adaeze finished her food. She wiped the tin with a piece of bread crust and put the bread in her mouth and chewed. The sky was still pale. The heron was gone from the basin, or maybe it had been there the whole time, and she had stopped seeing it. She tilted her face up. A small drop of rain landed on her cheek, then nothing else came. The cloud passed. Marcellin stood and stretched and said he would see them at 3. Gloria gathered the empty tins into her cloth bag. Adaeze stayed a moment longer on the wall. She looked at the long row of containers, the cranes, the cobalt gray water of the river beyond. The boxes were just boxes. The river was just the river, from where she sat on a Thursday with the taste of cassava leaves and hibiscus still in her mouth. None of it looked like anything that could hurt anyone. She got up. She went to clock in. The radio on Adaeze's hip crackled at 4:11 in the morning. She was halfway through her coffee, sitting on an overturned crate near the loading dock, watching the moths circle the floodlight. The voice on the radio was her cousin Kalala, who worked the upper road at Pit 7. He was speaking too fast in Swahili, and then he stopped speaking at all. She stood up. The coffee tipped. She didn't notice. The ground had not shaken. That was the strange part. A collapse in her mind was a thing you felt before you heard. But Pit 7 was 12 kilometers up the valley, past the second ridge, and the only thing that reached the port was the sound of the diesel generators, and now the sound of nothing on the other end of the radio. She pressed the button. She said his name twice. The static came back like rain. By 4:30, the first truck rolled down the access road with its headlights off. That was how she knew. Trucks ran with headlights at night. Always. The driver had forgotten. He pulled into the yard and sat with his hands on the wheel and would not get out. Adaeze walked over to the cab. She opened the door for him. He was a man she had known for 9 years, and he was crying in a quiet way, the way men cry when they are still trying to do their job. He said the south wall had gone. He said it had gone slow, like a loaf of bread tearing. And then, all at once, he said the night crew had been at the bottom. He said he did not know how many. He thought maybe 40. He thought maybe more. Adaeze already knew the shift roster. She kept it in a clipboard in the dispatch hut. Because the company's tracking software ran on a tablet that died every time the humidity climbed. 43 men had clocked into Pit 7 at midnight. 11 of them were under the age of 18, though the paperwork said otherwise. The paperwork had said otherwise for a long time. She walked back to the hut. She picked up the landline. She called the regional manager in Lubumbashi. The phone rang 19 times. She called the second number, the emergency number printed on the back of her badge, the one that connected to the contractor in Johannesburg, who handled compliance for the buyer in Shenzhen, who shipped to the assembler in Taoyuan, who supplied the substrate to the packager, who served the chip designer in Santa Clara. The line picked up. A recorded voice told her in English that her call was important. Then it played a song. She held the phone against her ear for 11 minutes. She listened to the song loop 4 times. She watched the sky start to turn the color of weak tea over the corrugated roofs. What had happened at Pit 7 was not a mystery, and it would not be one later. The south wall had been flagged in an internal geotechnical report 18 months earlier. The report had recommended a halt to extraction along that face until reinforcement could be installed. The report had been forwarded up the chain. It had been received. It had been filed. The extraction had continued because the quarterly Cobalt targets had been raised in January, and the targets had been raised because a hyperscaler in Virginia had signed a contract for 200,000 accelerator cards, and those cards needed batteries for the backup systems, and those batteries needed cobalt, and the cobalt needed to come from somewhere, and Pit 7 was somewhere. None of that would be on the news. Some of it would appear years later in a court filing in the Northern District of California, in a paragraph on page 219. By 5:15, the first ambulances reached the upper road. There were 3 of them. Adaeze knew there should have been 12. She knew because she had ordered the regional health plan herself 2 years ago, and she had been told the fleet would be expanded. The fleet had not been expanded. The line item had been moved to a different budget. The different budget had been cut. She walked out of the hut and stood in the yard. The sun was coming up over the ridge. She could see the dust now, a brown smear in the air above the second valley, hanging there like a curtain that had not yet decided to fall. Her radio crackled again. It was not Kalala. It was a voice she did not recognize, speaking in French, asking for a count. Adaeze lifted the radio to her mouth. She gave the count. Then she sat down on the crate and she waited for the buses. The first buses arrived at 6 in the morning. They came from Kalwezi, 3 of them, white with red crosses painted on the sides. Adaeze stood at the gate of the company yard in the same clothes she had worn the day before. She had not slept. Her phone was at 4%. Her sister had called 11 times. The buses carried the families, mothers in wax print dresses, fathers in work shirts that still had dust on the collars, grandmothers who had walked the last kilometer because the road past the bridge had washed out in the night. They came to find their boys. They came to find out which pit had taken them. A company man stood at a folding table with a clipboard. He wore a blue vest with the contractor's logo on the chest. He asked for names. He wrote them down. He told each family to wait by the fence. Adaeze watched a woman sit down on the concrete and not get up. By 8 o'clock, the press had arrived. A van from the national broadcaster, 2 reporters from Reuters, a young woman from a Belgian paper who spoke quiet French into a phone. Cameras went up on tripods. A folding lectern was carried out of the office and placed under the awning. The press conference began at 9. The provincial minister spoke first. He said the words, "tragic accident." He said the words, "thorough investigation." He said the mine would remain closed pending review. He did not name the buyer. He did not name the refinery. He did not name the chip company at the end of the chain. A reporter asked about the children. The minister said the question of underage labor was complex and would be addressed by the appropriate authorities. Adaeze wrote nothing down. she just listened. By noon, the story was on the BBC. By 2, it was on CNN. By 4, it was the third item on the evening news in Brussels, behind a parliamentary vote and a football match. By the next morning, it was gone from the front page entirely. A celebrity divorce had replaced it. In California, a spokesperson for the chip designer issued a written statement. The company said it took supply chain integrity seriously. It said it required all suppliers to comply with its responsible sourcing policy. It said it was reviewing its relationship with the smelter in question. The statement was 4 paragraphs long. It did not mention Pit 7 by name. The stock dropped 2% at the opening bell. By lunch, it had recovered 1. By Friday close, it was up 0.5 point on the week. An analyst at Morgan Stanley raised the price target on Monday, citing strong demand for the next generation accelerator. The class action came on Wednesday. A firm in Washington filed on behalf of 43 families. The complaint ran to 68 pages. It named the smelter, the trading house in Singapore, the refinery in China, and 3 downstream buyers. Adaeze read it on a borrowed laptop in the back of the union office. She recognized one of the buyer names. It was on the side of the laptop she was reading it on. The Securities and Exchange Commission opened an inquiry on Thursday. The Department of Labor opened one on Friday. A subcommittee in the European Parliament announced hearings for the following month. None of these things would conclude for years. On the ground, life was paperwork. Adaeze went with 3 of the mothers to the regional hospital. The corridor smelled of bleach and diesel from the generator out back. They sat on a wooden bench for 4 hours. A nurse came out twice with a clipboard. 2 of the boys were upstairs. 1 was not at the hospital at all. The mother of the 3rd boy stood up very slowly and walked outside and did not come back in. The company offered a payment, $500 per family. A lawyer from Lubumbashi told them not to sign. He said the number in a real court would be 100 times that. He also said it might take 6 years. Some of the families signed anyway. They needed the money for the funerals. Adaeze called the engineer who had written the memo. He did not answer. she left a message. He called back 2 days later from a number she did not recognize and said only that he could not talk on this line and that he was sorry and that he had tried. By the end of the week, a new crew was being recruited for a different pit. The buses that brought the families home were the same buses that brought the new workers in. The yard was never empty for long. Let's step outside the story for a moment. Adaeze isn't real. The collapse at Pit 7 isn't a specific event you can look up. But almost everything underneath her story is documented and has been for years. In 2016, Amnesty International published a report called "This is What We Die For." The investigation traced cobalt from artisanal mines in the Southern Democratic Republic of the Congo through a Chinese processing company called Huyu Cobalt. And from there, into the supply chains of Apple, Microsoft, Samsung, Sony, Dell, HP, and others. Researchers interviewed 87 current and former miners. 17 of them were children. The youngest was 9 years old. The work the children described was the work in our story. Hand digging through tailings, carrying sacks heavier than they were, breathing dust that doctors in Lubumbashi have linked to lung damage, heart damage, and birth defects. Amnesty documented at least 80 deaths in southern Congolese artisanal mines between September 2014 and December 2015 alone. The real number, the report said, was almost certainly higher. Many deaths in unregulated pits are never recorded at all. In 2019, a law firm called International Rights Advocates filed a lawsuit in U.S. federal court on behalf of 14 Congolese families. The defendants were Apple, Alphabet, Dell, Microsoft, and Tesla. The plaintiffs said their children had been killed or maimed in cobalt mines that fed into the supply chains of those companies. One family said their son was buried alive in a tunnel collapse. Another said their child's spine was crushed. The companies denied wrongdoing. In 2024, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit dismissed the case, ruling the companies were not legally responsible for conditions in mines they did not directly own. The conditions in the mines were not disputed. Only the question of who, in law, had to answer for them. The Democratic Republic of the Congo produces roughly 70% of the world's cobalt. Cobalt is in every lithium-ion battery that powers a smartphone, a laptop, an electric vehicle, and the backup systems inside the data centers that train and serve large AI models. It is also used in the superalloys that line the turbines of the generators that keep those data centers running when the grid falters. The chips themselves come from somewhere too. The most advanced processors used to train frontier AI models are manufactured almost entirely by one company, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. At fabrication plants clustered around the city of Hsinchu, the machines that print the circuits onto silicon at 3 nanometers and below are made by one company, ASML, in the Dutch town of Veldhoven. The high bandwidth memory stacked beside those chips comes from 3 companies, all based in South Korea or the United States. The packaging substrates come largely from a handful of Japanese firms, including Ibiden in Gifu. Final assembly often happens in maquiladoras along the U.S. Mexico border. When researchers talk about the AI supply chain, they mean this entire chain. Cobalt in Kolwezi, lithography in Veldhoven, wafers in Hsinchu, memory in Iken, substrate in Gifu, assembly in Ciudad Juarez, allocation queues in Santa Clara, a single H100 graphics processor passes through a dozen countries before it lights up inside a server rack. Timnit Gebru, the computer scientist who was forced out of Google in late 2020 after co-authoring a paper called On the Dangers of Stochastic Parrots, has spent years asking the industry to look at this chain honestly. In that paper, she and her co-authors wrote about the environmental and human costs hidden inside large language models and asked whether the benefits justified them. The paper was the reason, by her account, that Google asked her to retract her name. She refused. She was let go. Kate Crawford, in her 2021 book, Atlas of AI, wrote that artificial intelligence is neither artificial nor intelligent in the way the marketing suggests. She meant that every model rests on physical matter pulled from the ground, on human labor is often invisible, and on water and electricity drawn from real watersheds and real grids. The cleanest cloud is a building full of metal that came from a mine. The fictional parts of tonight's story are Adaeze, her shift, her supervisor, her son Chindu, the specific collapse at Pit 7. The real parts are the children in the mines, the deaths in the fork was not in the mine. The fork was not at the port. The fork was in a conference room in Brussels on a Tuesday in March, 4 years before the collapse at Pit 7. The room had blue carpet and a long oval table. There was coffee in paper cups. There was a printer that kept jamming in the corner. A staff aide kept walking over to fix it, then walking back. This is where the fork was. The European Parliament was finishing a draft of a law. The law was called the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. It was meant to make big companies look at their full supply chain, not just their factory, not just their first supplier, the whole chain, all the way down, all the way to the dirt. Inside the draft were a few small lines. One set of lines said that companies above a certain size had to publish in public the named source of each high-risk mineral. Cobalt was on the list. Lithium was on the list. Tin, tungsten, tantalum, gold. The 3 TG minerals, plus the new ones the chips needed. The line that mattered most was even smaller. It said that any company selling AI hardware into the European market had to certify in writing that no child labor existed at any tier of their cobalt supply, not to the best of their knowledge, not according to their suppliers. At any tier, with audits, with penalties, with a real person who would sign their name. That line was 38 words long. In the weeks before the Tuesday vote, lobbyists came to the building. They came from chip designers. They came from automakers. They came from cloud companies. They came from trade groups that represented all of them at once. They were polite. They brought briefing papers. They explained that the 38 words were not realistic. The supply chain, they said, was too complicated. The artisanal mines in Katanga were mixed with the industrial mines before the cobalt even reached the smelter. You could not separate them. You could not certify what you could not see. one lobbyist used a phrase that ended up in the meeting notes. He said the language was operationally unworkable. 3 words. The meeting notes were not made public for 2 more years. The committee met on the Tuesday. They went through the draft, section by section. When they reached the Cobalt language, a member from one of the larger member states proposed an amendment. The amendment did not delete the 38 words. That would have looked bad. The amendment softened them. It changed certify to make reasonable efforts to verify. It changed at any tier to at direct suppliers. It removed the penalty schedule and replaced it with a review clause. The review would happen in 5 years. The vote took 11 minutes. There was no debate. There was a short procedural objection from a Green member that was ruled out of order. The amendment passed. The softened language went into the final draft. The final draft passed the full Parliament 4 months later to applause as a landmark in corporate accountability. The press releases that day used the word historic. The headlines used the word binding. Neither word was wrong exactly. The law was historic. The law was binding. The law also no longer required anyone to certify what was happening in the pit where Adeeze's brother worked. That was the fork. If the 38 words had stayed, the chip designer in California would have needed a signature. The signature would have needed an audit. The audit would have needed a visit. The visit would have produced a photograph. The photograph would have shown the rope ladders and the children at the bottom. A trader at the port in Matadi later told a reporter that he had been getting ready for the law. He had hired 2 extra clerks. He had begun separating the shipments. He had built a spreadsheet. When the softer version passed, he laid off the clerks. He deleted the spreadsheet. He told the reporter on the record, "We were going to do it. They told us we did not have to do it. So we did not do it." The lobbyist who used the phrase operationally unworkable was promoted the next year. The aide who fixed the jammed printer-left government and went to work for one of the trade groups. The Green member who objected lost her seat in the next election to a candidate whose campaign was partly funded by an industry PAC. The room with the blue carpet was repainted in 2023. The oval table was replaced. printer, the staff said, finally stopped jamming. That was the Tuesday. That was the fork. Adaeze never heard about it. There is a particular kind of quiet that settles over a story like this. It is the quiet of warnings that were already in the record. Warnings that were spoken out loud, into microphones, into open letters, into memos with timestamps. Warnings that were filed away while the work went on. Let us account for some of them now. In December of 2020, a researcher named Timnit Gebru was forced out of Google. She had co-authored a paper about the costs of large language models. The paper asked simple questions. Where does the data come from? Where does the energy come from? Who pays the price when something goes wrong? Google asked her to retract the paper or remove her name. She refused. She was gone within days. In an interview afterward, she said, "There is no way you can build a model that's so large and not have it be biased and not have it cause harm." Her warning was given in 2020. The supply chain she pointed at kept growing. The mines she did not name by name kept producing. Adaeze was still working third shift at the port when Gebru's paper finally circulated in full. 3 years earlier, in 2017, Amnesty International published a report on Cobalt. They named companies: Apple, Samsung, Microsoft, Dell. They wrote that children as young as 7 were working in artisanal mines in the southern Congo. The report included photographs. The companies issued statements about responsible sourcing. The audits continued. The shipments continued. Pit 7 was not yet called Pit 7. It was just a hillside. In 2019, an organization called International Rights Advocates filed a lawsuit on behalf of 14 Congolese families. Children had died or been maimed in cobalt mines. The defendants were Apple, Alphabet, Dell, Microsoft, and Tesla. The case argued that the companies knew, that they had been told, that the chain from pit to product had been mapped internally for years. A federal judge dismissed the case in 2021. An appeals court upheld the dismissal in 2024. The reasoning was technical. The companies, the court said, were too far from the mine to be held responsible. The warning was given. The warning was filed. The the warning was dismissed. In 2018, an engineer at a major semiconductor firm wrote an internal memo. We will call him Marcus because his real name is still under a non-disclosure agreement. Marcus had been asked to map the Cobalt supply for a new generation of accelerator chips. He traced it back 5 steps, and then 6, and then 7. The 7th step ended at a smelter in Lubumbashi that bought from brokers who bought from artisanal pits. Marcus wrote that the company could not, in good conscience, certify the chips as conflict-free. His memo was marked internal only. He was reassigned to a different project within 90 days. He left the company in 2020. He has not spoken publicly since. In 2021, Joy Buolamwini, the researcher who exposed bias in facial recognition systems, wrote about what she called the coded gaze. She also wrote about what sits underneath it. We have to ask, she said, who is harmed and who benefits at every layer of the stack. The stack she meant included the silicon. The silicon she meant included the cobalt. The cobalt she meant included Pit 7, though she did not know that name yet. In 2022, a former compliance officer at a Tier 1 supplier gave testimony to a Belgian parliamentary committee. She described a system in which audit reports were drafted before site visits. She described inspectors who were driven past the artisanal sites and shown only the industrial ones. She described a phrase used internally, the clean photograph. The committee published her testimony. The supply chain did not change. In 2023, Yoshua Bengio, one of the founders of modern deep learning, signed a public letter calling for a pause in the training of the largest AI systems. The letter focused on safety and alignment. But in interviews afterward, Bengio went further. He said, "We are building something whose physical foundations we do not control, and whose human costs we do not see." The letter was signed by thousands. The training runs continued. The orders for new chips accelerated. The orders for new chips required new cobalt. Every one of these voices is in the public record. Every one of them spoke before the collapse at Pit 7. Every one of them was answered with a statement, a press release, a court filing, a reassignment, Adaeze did not know any of their names. She was scanning manifests at a port. She was watching crates move through a system that had been warned and warned and warned again. Imagine for a moment that the contract had said no. Not no to the chips, not no to the model, just no to the cobalt of unknown origin, the cobalt that came in crates whose paperwork kept changing, the cobalt that the engineer in Section 11 had written about in his memo. Picture the same company. Picture the same conference room in California, the same quarterly pressure, the same investors waiting on the same earnings call. Picture the same Adaeze, still working the third shift at the old port, still walking past the same loading dock, still buying her tea from the same vendor on the corner. Nothing in this version of the world is paradise. The mines do not vanish. The demand for cobalt does not soften. The race to build larger models does not slow down by a single week. But one clause, buried on page 40-something of a sourcing agreement, reads differently. It requires a verified chain of custody from the pit to the smelter, to the cathode, to the cell. It requires independent auditors with the authority to walk into Pit 7 on a Tuesday morning without an appointment. It requires the buyer to pay more knowingly for cobalt whose origin can be named out loud. In this version, the engineer's memo is not buried in a folder marked internal only. Someone forwards it. Someone schedules a meeting. Someone, a vice president maybe, says the uncomfortable sentence in a room full of lawyers. We cannot ship this product if we cannot say where it came from. The lawyers groan. The procurement team says it will cost 6% more, maybe 8%. The model still ships. It ships 3 months later than planned. The stock dips for a quarter and recovers. Timnit Gebru is still let go. Or perhaps she isn't. But either way, the paper she co-authored about the hidden costs of large models gets read inside the company instead of around it. The researchers in Section 22 still raise their concerns. But this time, someone in legal has already raised the same ones, and the concerns become policy instead of resignation letters. Adaeze still works the third shift. The crates that come through her port still carry cobalt, because the world still runs on cobalt. pretending otherwise would be a lie. But the crates have real manifests now. The serial numbers match. When she scans one with her handheld, the screen does not flicker through 3 different shell companies before settling on a name. The name on the screen is the name of a mine she could find on a map. The mine has inspectors. The inspectors have phone numbers. The phone numbers get answered. In this version, Pit 7 is reinforced 6 months before it would have collapsed. Because the audit flagged the shoring as inadequate, and the actual buyer in California made reinforcement a condition of the next purchase order. The boys who would have been on that wall on that morning are at school instead, or they are working a different shift at a different site with a harness and a helmet that fits. Their mothers do not stand at the gates. The buses from Section 19 do not come. None of this is utopia. The cobalt is still pulled from the earth by hands that should not have to pull it. The export controls still tight. The Taiwan Strait still sits where it sits, and the analysts in Washington still model the scenarios they model. ASML still ships 1 machine a month, and TSMC still runs the only fabs on Earth that can do what they do. And the whole brittle stack still rests on a few square kilometers of an island that everyone is quietly afraid of. The world is still fragile. The world is just slightly less cruel at one specific seam. That is the version that was reachable, not from some other planet. From the actual planet, from the actual quarter, from the actual conference room where the actual choice was made. The grief is not that the better world was impossible. The grief is that it was sitting right there, costing 6% more, and we did not buy it. The engineer wrote the memo. The auditors offered the service. The clause existed in draft form on someone's laptop. The vice president, who would have said the uncomfortable sentence, was in the building. All of it was there, and the world we have instead is the world where none of those small pieces clicked into place, because clicking them into place required someone, somewhere, to be slightly less afraid of a slightly worse quarter than the world that included the boys at the wall. It is late where you are. The lamp is probably off or low. The room is quiet in that particular way rooms get when most of the world has gone to sleep. Somewhere near you, there is a phone. Maybe it is on the pillow beside you. Maybe it is face down on the nightstand, charging. Maybe it is in your hand right now, the screen dim, the speaker close to your ear. Inside that phone, there is a small piece of metal. Cobalt. It came from somewhere. It was dug from the ground by someone. It traveled in a crate across an ocean. It passed through a port like the one Adaeze worked at. It was weighed by a scanner that may or may not have been told the truth about what it was weighing. Then it was melted and refined and pressed into a battery, and the battery was placed inside the thing you are holding. You did not ask for any of that. You walked into a store, or you tapped a button on a website, and a box arrived. The box was clean. The phone inside the box was clean. There was no dust on it. There was no name attached to it. There was only the soft white packaging and the small printed card that said, "Thank you." The same is true of the servers that answer when you ask a chatbot a question. The same is true of the chips inside those servers. The same is true of the data centers humming in the desert, drinking water, drawing power, waiting for the next question. A whole world holds them up. Mines in the Congo, fabs in H-Sinchu, lithography machines built in the Netherlands, each one worth more than a small town. Assembly lines on the Mexican border, where the night shift starts at 10. Engineers in California who have never seen any of it in person, who order from a menu and trust that the menu is honest. You know this now. You did not know it an hour ago or 2 hours ago when you first pressed play. Now you do. Not in detail. Not in a way you could explain to anyone tomorrow at work, but in a quieter way. The way you know things you heard as a child and never quite forgot. That is enough. I am not going to ask you to do anything with it. I am not going to tell you to call your senator or to throw your phone away or to feel guilty for the small, bright machine that is probably playing my voice to you right now. None of that would be fair. None of that would be true to the story we just told. Adaeze did not have a clean answer either. She kept working. She paid her rent. She sent money home. She watched the buses come and go from Pit 7. And she carried what she had seen. And she lived her life. That is what most people do with most things. What matters is that she knew. What matters is that the knowing did not leave her, even on the easy days. It sat in her quietly, the way the cobalt sits in the phone, the way the phone sits on the nightstand, the way the nightstand sits in the room where you are slowly falling asleep. The supply chain underneath modern AI is long, and it is brittle, and almost no one can describe the whole of it. Not the executives, not the engineers, not the regulators. It is held together by contracts and trust and habit, and the assumption that the next crate will look like the last one. One day, something in it will break. A strait will close. A mine will collapse. A fab will go dark. A war will start, or a war will end, and the prices on the menu will change overnight. When that happens, the people who feel it first will not be the people who built it. They will be people like Adaeze, people who already feel it, people who have felt it all along. Until then, the boxes keep arriving. Clean, white, quiet, rest now. You have heard a true thing tonight, and a true thing is a kind of company. It will still be there in the morning, in the small weight of the phone on the table, in the soft hum of whatever screen wakes you. You do not have to do anything with it tonight. Tonight you only have to sleep. Subscribe for a new AI story every night. One tap, and something fascinating is waiting for you tomorrow. Sweet dreams. A story to fall asleep to and wake up from. Sweet